Oh, freaking crack me up.
Hey everyone, my name is Brandon and this is Jordan, and we are Blimp podcast. And so basically we are here to basically help people and be able to provide a platform for people to be able to connect and understand why they've gone into business and what that means for them, their lifestyle. And really just to create a bit of a community, because in business we can feel alone every day, and it's we can have one good day but still it just not feel whole. And so Jordan and I have sort of stuck our heads together. Between the both of us, we've had a couple of businesses now, and been in business together too, and we're about to enter another partnership. So it's really great. We're really excited to see what comes of this. But anything you want to add, Jordan?
Yeah, of course, Brandon. Thank you for having me as a part of this, and hello to all of our listeners. Really wanted to share the same sentiments as you, Brandon. We've run businesses together in the past. You and I currently run our own businesses. Like, you've got a successful electrical business. I have a HR firm, and as such, we understand the challenges, right? It's tough as a business owner. And as like we said, we've worked as business owners together in the past. And I found when we work together, and once we've got business partners in a business, you do have the ability to bounce ideas off each other. You have someone to challenge your ideas as well. However, at the moment, we're sole directors of our businesses, and we work with a lot of companies who, there's one director in the picture, or directors are separated by distance, and as such, lonely at the top. We find ourselves, I think, a lot in business too, comparing ourselves to others. And a lot of times we see perceived success and we measure ourselves against that, and that could be detrimental. And not too often business owners actually share the struggles. And I think that's one thing we really want to capture. Hey, as obviously we want to motivate you, we want to share our experiences, we want to interview other people and share their experiences, and just make this like a real hub, isn't it? So where business owners and managers can go to sort of get a bit of refreshment, but also some tips on how to be successful, what works, what doesn't. And we'd love to take you on that journey.
Yeah, I think that's one thing Jordan touched on there, was that we are going to be interviewing other business owners, from small sole traders all the way up through to CEOs of large enterprises. And so we're really just wanting to be able to show that despite the backgrounds or the circumstances that you may be facing right now, everyone's been there, everyone's going to be there, face similar challenges, and we're wanting to be able to provide a platform where you can go and actually be like, wow, that person is facing the same struggles and the same hurdles that I'm going through currently. And so it's one of those things where we can provide that and then create this community, so you don't feel alone at the top, whatever that top is for you. At the top doesn't mean successful. It's at the top of your business. And sometimes it's really hard because you don't have a positive community around you. People want to see you fail. People don't want to encourage you when you decide to do something outside of the norm. And so I think that's something that I've found. I've been very lucky, though, to have my family who has been always there for me. They've always been super encouraging, and I've had a lot of friends that have been encouraging as well. But it's every time I've gone to start a business, there's always been a couple of people that have just been negative, and they're just like, that's a stupid idea, that'll never work. And if it doesn't work, then it's like, I told you so. And so I've had two businesses now that flopped, never really got off the ground, got a couple of sales, that was it. But it's just character building, and it allows you to, I guess, take something away from every part of that where you have failed. And it's not even failing, it's as a friend of ours, Jason, says, you learn through your failures. And so it's not a failure. You're learning and you're adapting, and then including that into your future endeavors, whatever they may be. And
yeah, absolutely, man. Brett, I think it's apparent that's tall poppy syndrome, right? Here in Australia, and sometimes it's a good day. Like you mentioned, you have a support network with family and friends. We understand some people don't have that too, but even I find this with like my family as well. Like even if the business is like, so my wife and I, she's very successful in her field, but I find too, it's sort of like, I won't share, share the wins, but if you're having a tough time or it's like, oh, we were hoping to get that client didn't come on board. I definitely feel like you want to shelter the loved ones, your loved ones from that too, which means there's a lot of like this internalization. So that's something that happens. But going back to tall poppy syndrome, like you mentioned some prime examples of that before, like how many times if you start a business, right, you hear that old saying like, well, 9 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 5 years or first 3 years. Like, cheers, bro. Thanks. Yeah, really appreciate that. But it is that tall poppy syndrome. It is, and it probably comes down to culturally, right, the way Australians work. Like if I from obviously everything's going to go through my HR filter, but like the way we have sort of culture in business. Okay. Simon Sinek talks about this. So in Australia, when a business is not doing well, we cull from the people, like the labor pool. You know what? It's not doing well. In comparison to somewhere like Japan, where they have this really good culture and this trust between their employees and the workforce, because hey, company's not doing well, CEO takes a pay cut, upper management take a pay cut. So there isn't this divide in Australia, this huge divide. Management, successful people, us, them, you're doing better than I am. I don't like that. And we see that sometimes too. Like someone seems to, start to do well, get a bit above their station. We're like, oh, you get back here, mate. What do you think you're doing up there? And it happens, right? You know what? I encourage someone with that entrepreneurial spirit. I celebrate it. And sometimes a lot of our friends won't celebrate that with us. Well, we're here to celebrate that with you, right? And that's what we want to capture here for sure.
I think it's a hard thing to get past that negativity, because when someone, it's so easy to go from having a positive mindset to one little thing ruining your day. Like it doesn't matter what could have happened that day. You could have one tiny thing pop up or get a phone call, one email, text message, anything, and your whole day's ruined. And so it's just really important, I guess, in those early stages, even throughout, is to choose who you hang around, your friends, and choose them wisely. And then you'll have a better product of, success on the other side of that. You'll be able to go into situations with your head held high, and you'll be able to eventually have a group of people, a support network, where they'll actually be able to give you some constructive feedback because they want to see you do well, not because, they're like, oh, he's doing well. Like you said, I want to bring you back down to my level. Because people, like you said, you're always comparing yourself to others, but at the same time, they're comparing themselves to you. And so if you've got someone where they're like, working 9 to 5, which is fine. We need workers, but if they see you doing something different, and it's not necessarily that they don't want to be happy for you, it's because they're comparing themselves to you and going like, I wish I could have done that. I wish I had that idea. And it's hard because, everyone thinks it. When you see someone doing well, you have that desire to being like, I wish I could have had that success or something like that.
And see, some people you will use that in a good way. Like some people will be like, that inspires me to be better. Other people will just sit back and hate, right? Stuff the haters. They're always going to be. I heard this saying the other day and I was like, I freaking love it. It's like your biggest admirer doesn't even know you. Like your biggest supporter doesn't personally know you. Your biggest hater, one of your closest friends. And I was like, damn, who was that? Like, but I think it's that resonates, and you're like, it's so true. And so over to you, good sir. There was something I was going to say, but like thoughts lost me. Gone. It's a joy of podcast, mate. There's 2 of us, so you can pick up the slack. So the moment I know, I'll be like, put my hand up, be like, oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say.
That's it. That's good. I am enjoying it so far. But so, John, with business, I guess, what do you think there's so many people bastardizing the word entrepreneur, but what do you think is the main, what do you think creates the right mindset to be able to have a successful or be successful in business for yourself? What do you think is just...
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Good question, right? So you have to want it more than anything else. And I'm going to illustrate this for you. I heard this in a podcast once, and it's like, okay, if I was to ask you right now, in the next 12 months, what are your chances of making $1 million, right? So if you had to give me a chance, like if start with nothing, right? I'm going to tell you, you have to make $1 million in 12 months. What's the percentage chance you reckon you'll make $1 million, right? And this could be a general question to anyone in the public, and most people will be like, oh, maybe like 3%, like 2%, 3%. And they're probably right? What if I then shifted that and said, okay, if you don't make $1 million in the next 12 months, everyone that you know, love, and care about will be dead. What's the chances you're going to make $1 million?
That's an extreme.
You're going to be like, goddamn, 100%, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. Like all of a sudden, your desire to make that $1 million, your purpose exceeded sort of, your want and has aligned with the purpose. It's like, I now have a reason to do this. Same true with a lot of people in business. It sounds nice to make $1 million, but do you really freaking want it? Are you prepared to put in the hard yards, to go above and beyond what you would normally do to get that freaking job done? And a lot of people don't. Okay. So the desire and the willingness to actually want it, okay, and have a reason for that and a purpose, you'll be successful.
I think there's a John Eldridge, who's an author. He said, don't ask yourself what the world needs when, he's not talking about business necessarily, but when you're going into business, you're always thinking like, what's a good market to get into? What's not overly saturated? So don't ask yourself what the world needs, but ask yourself what makes you become alive, because what the world needs is people that have become alive. And so when you are doing something just because you see that there's a market for it, is not necessarily going to, unless what makes you come alive is just launch all these businesses, get a massive, because there's people I know that have done that in a range of different areas. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm super successful, but I've done it in a few different areas now. There's other people who I know that are multimillionaires that have been able to get there through just starting all these random companies, or playing an intricate part in it. And so I think it's about that passion, it's what makes you come alive. And, for me, owning a pool company and an electrical company, do either of those things really make me come alive? No. What makes me come alive? And I think that's one of the fundamentals behind this podcast, right? Is that, and you're very similar in that we want to help people. We want to be able to, because we've both been in those low lows and we've both seen the high highs as well. And so we're able to, what our passion is to be able to help people get past this and actually follow their passion as well. And so I think it's it's if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're going to push that extra mile and go harder.
You're going to be a lot better at it. I see, obviously, if you're just like, oh, there's a market for this, okay, you can throw enough shit at the wall, right? Some of them eventually stick. However, I look at how why I started my business and how so many people who I know are successful, why they started their business. And it may not be because like, hey, I'm passionate about writing policies and procedures. No, we're really good at it. And all of a sudden, like that becomes you see a market, you enter it, and you become good at it. It becomes your reality, which is good. But like I think a lot of people go into business because it's like, I hate the service I receive in that space. Yeah. I see people, I can do this better. Yeah. And it's nearly like we prove it to ourselves and to those people. And some of the most successful businesses have come about it. Well, because of, because then you're able to align sort of a value set with a potential opportunity, and the two combined together. Good. It's your sales pitch 100%. That's what, Blackstone Business Group is for years. What Genesis Electrical is for me, it was for you. You were in that industry, and so you saw that gap. For me, I was in the pool industry, and I was trying to get electricians
out to people's
yeah.
houses, right? And I was sitting there for like 2 hours, and the customer's like, "Oh, when do you reckon they're coming?" I'm like, "I've got no idea." And then they'd turn up like 4 hours later because they went to the pub or something. I'm just like, there's a massive gap for people to just turn up. You know, how hard is it to turn up? And so I was able to be like, yeah, okay, there's a market for this because of that. And that has been my whole sales pitch. You know, the biggest part is just turning up. And so as long as I turn up, I usually get the job.
No. It's always good. Good luck getting someone to turn up here in Brisbane as well. That's one thing I've got to say. Like, you and I grew up in like country towns, like regional North Queensland, and the sense of urgency I've seen in the bigger cities is like, it's not there, right? You call a trade, you're lucky if they rock up. And it's not because they're super busy. I'm chatting to them, it's like, oh, you're a little bit on. It's like, when I say I'm busy, I'm freaking busy. Whereas up there, I remember, like, when you are fighting for a smaller pool of clients, you have to have amazing service. We've taken that and replicated that in the bigger cities with this amazing service. When people request it, and we slaughter the competition. And I think that's really good, because you in business, if you can embody doing your values there, backed by good service and a good quality product, you're untouchable, as long as you market it right and you follow it up. But that's one thing I've seen. So you got to have a sense of urgency as well.
Yeah,
you got to have a sense of service. Like, I expect amazing levels of service. I actually went to lunch at a place here called Moo Moo's, right? Went with some guys who hadn't been there for like 6 months. The wait staff, tell me if you've ever seen this. The wait staff remembered our names. I was like, that's pretty impressive. Could have been from the booking list, right? If they could know who we are. We go to order drinks. They remembered the drink orders for 5 out of 5 people at the table who had not been in that business for a minimum 3 to 6 months. It was freaking exceptional. I was blown away, and I thought, you know what? Like, businesses can do it. I've never had that sort of hospitality or service here in Australia. Someone tagged me, the owner, in sort of one of my posts, because I was like, guys, it was bloody amazing. It's someone down on the Brizzy or the Gold Coast, and I was blown away. But obviously that has to come culturally, right? Unless like, for staff to want to buy in and actually give the rats, to actually remember that and to care. Awesome culture. I'd love to meet that guy. So we'll tee that up.
Yeah,
because there's something we can learn there. And this is the thing, I think, with this podcast too, you will learn things from us that we've learned from other people. But having people in, that's what we want to be able to ask them questions, so that you as the listener can get a little gem of wisdom. You might know 9 out of 10 things, but that one, money.
That's the thing. This is us learning as well. We don't have all the answers. And we don't claim to have all the answers. We're just trying to help create that platform. And so
so I know podcasts should flow, right? And it's sort of like, once we pass the topic, we don't go back to it. But I'm put my hand up. I remembered what it was. You know, you're driving like 10 minutes later, I know what I said. So, but you mentioned like the people around you, okay? And my mum used to say the same. She probably just regurgitated. That's probably a well-known saying. But like, if you want to see your future in 5 years or 10 years, look at your 5 closest friends. And I think there's a saying we all know, like, be the dumbest person in your friend circle. Because I think that's really important. Like, you do this when you sort of rub shoulders with entrepreneurs, like successful entrepreneurs. Like you said, the bastardized term, the old entrepreneur. What do? Oh, I've got an Instagram page. Don't care. Not influencer. If you do have an Instagram page and you are an influencer and an entrepreneur, kudos to you. There's a lot of fakers out there, right? Or a podcast. What are we doing? But really, it's real cool. So I think having those people around you is really good. Having a mentor, I've had mentors, you've had mentors. They're good because they're accountability partners. They're people who are successful, who will call you out on your shit. And that's really important. And we expect you to do the same to us. You can ask us questions, we will answer. You will always get from us on this podcast pure honesty. We're not going to fluff it up. If we're having a bad day, we'll tell you. Obviously, we'll try and be real positive and happy, but we will share the stories. I'll share the times where I remember, like, I'll share it now. Like 9 years ago, as we were growing in business, and like my wife and I, we were like, wait, to last $20. We buy food, or do we go, like, or fuel? What do we do? Like, we don't think that when we talk to you, if we've not been there and we don't still have struggles, we do. But we want to share them with you, and we're all going to live and we're going to learn from them. And that's exciting. Brandon, you mentioned something before about, you mentioned, like we compare ourselves to to other people, right? Like
Yeah.
we compare those successes. And you mentioned this, I think we'd spoken about in the past, called Chinese bamboo, right? And I think we should share that with the listeners today. So Chinese man, don't mind this too. I've got like a French bulldog sort of, if he pops up on the camera, go away, mate. But it's Chinese bamboo, right? So it's a seed, and it's a small little seed, and it takes a long time to germinate. So long, you actually plant it, and you must water it every day. If you don't water this seed every day, it won't. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't germinate. It doesn't become fruitful. So they must water it every day. Guess how long this thing takes before it breaks the surface of the ground? 5 years of daily watering. Yeah. Once though it breaks the surface of the ground, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Ridiculous. 90 feet is like 30 telephone poles. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the 6 weeks. So it just shoots up 90 feet. That's huge when you think, and it grows up and out from this small little seed that takes 5 years. Yeah. Business is exactly the same, right? We look at that and we're like, holy smokes, look at that growth. You're so successful, because all we see as people looking in at someone's perceived success is the above the ground. We don't see the 5 years of watering it every single day. Once it's successful, boom. Someone shared a saying, and they said, it took me 20 years to become an overnight success. And that's so true. Think of it as the Chinese bamboo. If you are still in those 5 years busting your ass, keep at it. Yeah. You know, keep at it. Keep watering, because when it does grow, it will grow. And for people that do see that growth, don't take away the hard work from someone who's busted their hump to get it. I think it's really good, if you are a successful person in business, to also share that with people and be like, hey, let me tell you about my struggles, because I'm measuring myself against your success. Tell me a bit about your struggles, because I'm in the struggle right now. I'm in the thick of it. Tell me how you got through there to be successful. And that's what I think we really want to capture. Hey.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we're doing this. I'm not saying that we're successes. We're still in that 5-year process, and probably will be for a while. But and I guess the thing as well, just there, it's you can keep working at it, but you need to humble yourself to be able to take advice and constructive criticism as well, but make sure it's from the right people. And so get yourself a business coach and have people surrounding you that, like you said, be the dumbest person in your circle, not because you aspire to be that or any of the people that you're around, but because they make you better and they can input some value into your life. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're wasting time. And, it all comes back to me, as my dad has always driven this into me, is the why. Why did you go into business? What is the fundamental reason why you left your day job and decided to go into business? For me, it was because when I started my pool business, my last ever boss fired me. We didn't get along, and he just fired me. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? I've got 2 car payments, rent. Casey had just lost her job as well, and my wife. And so it was just like, man, we've got no income. What are we going to do? And it pushed me, like you said, you have that desire to do well, pushed me to start that business. Man. And I ran it for 5 or 6 years, and it's super successful now. They've actually just won a massive contract, but it's definitely a growing thing, but I wouldn't have got there by myself. And I wouldn't have got there if I just kept comparing myself to other pool businesses in Townsville or something like that. It's a constant learning process, and you have to realize you don't have all the answers. Otherwise, you would be there. You would be the overnight success overnight, not after 5 years or 20 years or however long it takes you. And so for me, the why was originally just because I can make more money. It's all about the bottom line. And as soon as I had a family, it just shifted, right? It was like flexibility. That is why I'm in business, flexibility. Because when I sold my pool business, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I took a 12-month sabbatical and just did nothing. It was when COVID hit at the same time. So I'm just like, I'll start another business. And I'm like, I just want flexibility. And that's what the last business offered. So surely this will be the same. And I've never worked so hard in my life for so many hours every single day.
Yeah, man. Welcome. It's
that's the
crazy.
thing, right? It's not always what you plan it's going to be, but if you keep that why in mind, if you keep that why visible for you, so you see it every single day, it's like, hey, how am I working towards making that become a reality? Because that's what we all desire. Is we all desire to be able to retire by 40. And I was going to say 30, but I'm not.
I'm nearing 40 in a few years, mate. Don't you be.
We've all got
say
that
50.
desire.
Say 50, so we look better.
50, yeah.
So.
65.
I probably won't look good at 50. But
yeah, so and that's just where I guess we want to be able to help you discover that why if you haven't discovered that yet, or if you didn't have a why when getting into business. Maybe it was just your only option, or you just had something that you loved.
And sometimes I think you find your why along the way too, right? Like we said before, like you see an opportunity, like stuff you, man, I'm going to take it to you. I'm going to open up a business. And then I think your values develop over time. Like if they don't have them there already, you're like, man, you know what this is? For me, I think it was controlling the narrative, like, or controlling, like having, when my reputation was at stake. So I worked for a company, sales manager, in the space that I work in now. And there was a sales team and a service team, right? And my reputation, because I would develop the relationship with the client, small town, or small city. And the thing is then once I've done it, catch, kill, goes over service. People still know me. So when the service team dropping the ball, and I have these clients call me up like, Jordo, those guys have not called me back in 3 days. What did you make me spend 100 grand on? I'm like, I hated that. So I was like, how do I actually be able to, how can I actually develop these relationships? Be mutually beneficial for both parties, but also control the deliverables, control the narrative of that relationship. That's why I did it. That's why we still do it. So
it presents more issues in itself then, doesn't it? Because it means that for you to be able to see that client from start to finish, it demands a lot of you. And so, and I think that, as with our new business as well, but technology is paving a way for people to not have to be so hands-on, and it's creating new opportunities that were never available. And you see, and you don't know, you take everything with a grain of salt. You never know exactly where people are at, but there seems to be a lot of people that are successful from drop shipping. They never have to touch a thing. They create a really successful website, create that hype, become an influencer, and then they're making bank. And
influencers, they are. They're good. People like, you can be a success in anything, right? They're even doing it with like currency exchange. I forget what it's called, but they literally like buy a currency. It's probably a scam, but I was looking at it the other day and it seemed all right. So they buy one, exchange it for another, and someone was saying it was like the magic sauce, and I went into it. See, this is the thing. I go into everything skeptical, and I think you have to. And then you do your research, right? Because there's so many things. We're talking about this, like, I'm not going to go into anti-vaccine and vaccine, right? But it's so true, right? No matter what your mindset is, you can do a search aligned with your bias, because there's so much information and misinformation, but you can do a search aligned with your bias. Like, or you can do a search and be like, dinosaurs didn't exist. You will find enough if that's all you search in this like echo chamber of things aligned with that. And you'll be like, maybe they didn't exist, but like, obviously they did, but no. But it's just little things like that, right? There's always someone.
There's evidence for both sides. Whatever you want, there will be evidence for it.
And that's the thing, is like, we will explore different things throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
But we will always be neutral, and we'll always do the research. My favorite podcast.
We always attempt to be neutral.
Try to be. Like, I'm definitely pro dinosaurs exist. But like, I love Joe Rogan. Like if you watch us and you've seen Joe Rogan, I like Joe Rogan, cool guy. Like, we'll just probably do the same, right? We'll call it, is it brand line? We're similar personalities, but still different, right? And I think that's cool. It's going to give us a good dynamic.
We're not getting high on our podcast
yet. No, joking. It's we have cordials about it, so we're just keeping it real. No. So of course, I think that's really cool.
It's I think this is going to be a really good platform for it's not just going to be about the podcast. We're going to have a Facebook group where people can connect with us and with each other, and it's going to be it'll be linked in all of the platforms that we're on. But it's about creating a network, a platform, and a mindset for people to realize that they don't have to have all the answers. They don't have to act like they've got it all together. They can be here, be real, and hear other people that are here and being real as well, and able to actually take you through what they've been through. And it's for me, I'm just like so excited because I talk to business owners all the time. And that's what, originally made me think like this is such a good idea and what people need. Because
it's community, right? We're a community for sure.
And community, surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want to see you do well and that want to see each other do well. And so for me, being able to be able to interview people who've been there, done that, or people that are coming into it, and find out about their journey, and it excites me. It's really, really exciting. So definitely looking forward to the weeks to come and years to come, hopefully. But yeah,
so you got an Instagram page or message us?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm stirring. But there's I think there's so many platforms, right? You mentioned before that you can be successful on. Like I even know I've got friends who have started like clothing labels and gym labels, and they have their Instagram pages. I give them a hard time, but they're really successful. Some young fellas we actually work with down here, not a gym label, but they've got. I'll give them a shout. Like they're based out of the Gold Coast, so their company's called Self-Aware, as in like WEAR. And I love what they do, right? So they create shirts, and their shirts, it's quite a simple idea, really good quality shirts, but it just has like their whole ethos is to spread a positive message and be a positive message. And they literally have a shirt, it's like, be happy. Like it's a really simple idea, but it's really cool. And these guys, young fellas, 3 guys behind this brand that's really catered to sort of like a female market, like pastel colors. And these guys are kicking ass. They're a client of mine, and awesome. So I celebrate that success. So
I think it's definitely such a culture that we need to be able to create is the idea of being happy for other people that are doing well despite what your circumstances are, and not just that, but being able to feel like you're going to be able to talk about your situation, your circumstances without being ridiculed, because it's like, like you said earlier, you don't want to necessarily come home if you've had a crappy day and talk to your wife about it. You want to be able to come home and just unwind, but sometimes it can feel alone and you can't see the forest through the trees, like you are just standing there with this big wall in front of you, and it doesn't seem like you can go forward, but you just need perspective sometimes, and you're too close to be able to get that. And so by us hopefully being able to provide this platform for you, you're going to be able to see alternative methods of whatever the struggle is you're coming up against, or just have a different perspective in general. I'm so excited to be able to provide that.
Dang, yeah, I'm excited too, man. And this is the thing is sometimes when all the chips are down, that you're at your toughest, roughest, lowest point, you do your best work, right? You probably heard like a saying, Brandon, you mentioned before. Okay, there's the sayings like burn the boats. I'll touch on that for a couple of minutes. You mentioned before, like, hey, like lost a job, Casey didn't have a job, so your wife didn't have a job, and you're like, shit, what do I do? Okay, and assuming your back's to the wall, it's like I have only one way to go, and it's up, and I have no choice. You were talking about that, like the desire. I have no choice but to be successful. Exact same thing. So burn the boats actually come about with the Spanish conquistadors. I hope I get his name right. A guy called Hernando Cortez. We've all heard of like Spanish gold or the Inca treasure, right? What's now South America, hopefully my geography is right, but what's now South America was run by the Aztecs, okay? So the Aztecs had this rumored treasure, or this treasure that the whole world knew about, Inca gold, Aztec treasure. And for 600 years, they defended this treasure. No one got near it. Anyone that sort of went there, went back home, if they went back home with a tail between their legs. So there was this guy, Hernando Cortez, who said, hey, I want to get together these Spanish conquistadors. I have a plan. I need you to sort of back me on this. And the government at the time was like, or the king was like, yeah, man, sort it out. So they gathered these Spanish conquistadors. They all went over in boats and they landed on the beach. His order was burn the boats. So he ordered all the boats that they came in to be burned, knowing that the Aztecs had their own fleet. And he said, now that the boats are burned, we have no choice. If you want to go home and see your loved ones where we come from, we're going to get that damn treasure. and we're going to take their boats and we're going to sail back home. First guy, 600 years, conquered the Aztecs, took the treasure and made it home. But like whether that was good or not, the reality is the moral from that example in history is when you have no other choice, heck, you're going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? You see that sometimes in a fight. The guy who's the champion. Look what we saw with the Anthony Joshua fight. Guy's the champion. He's got everything to lose. That other guy, everything to gain.
Yeah.
I don't want to be fighting the guy who's got everything to gain because he's going in there, you know what I mean, fight in the dog, mate, not the dog in the fight. And I think that's really cool. So if in the event you're listening to this now or at a later date, or you're coming back to listen to this, if you're struggling, then you can do some of your best work. And we want to actually sort of point you in the right direction, keep you motivated, and make those choices. So I'm excited for our upcoming podcast. Hopefully that's a bit of a taste of what we do and what we're aiming to achieve.
What we're going to be able to offer shortly as well is a list of business coaches who specialize in certain areas or that are very broad in what they offer. And so you are able to reach out to them as well and potentially get some better feedback than we can give you, or that you'll get from this podcast as well. So we're going to be not partnering, but putting up their details as they allow us, and just creating that availability for you. So
it's cool, man. I think we can answer questions too. Hey, like we'll set up we'll give you the details of the Facebook page, community, where we can. Yeah, absolutely. And that way, like we're in it together, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that is our time for today. Definitely look forward to the next one. And thank you, Jordan, for your time.
My pleasure. That's all good. No, it's good. I'm loving what we're doing, and I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I'm not better looking if you're watching the video.
When we get to 1,000 likes, I'll put up a photo of Jordan with hair.
Don't be doing that. Okay, fair enough. 1,000 likes. I hope we get to 999.
I reckon we'll get there. People want to see you with a toupee on like Trump.
I was looking. Yeah, I had the DT happening. So,
awesome.
All right, cool.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you all.
All good.